Welcome to the Ask Faleskini podcast with a guest. I'm proud to present Angela Duncan from Florida. Angela is committed to closing the poverty gap by empowering others to change their financial future. Angela, please tell us more about yourself.
Yes, thank you, Peter, for having me on your show today. I am grateful for the opportunity. A little about myself. I am a survivor of childhood abuse and trauma. My mother was an alcoholic. My stepfather abused me, and we lived in poverty and moved more times than I even know. So when I was 18, I knew I needed to move out of the unhealthy situation. And I put myself through college, and I knew I've always been fascinated by numbers and by money. I early on wanted to learn more about money because we didn't have it. And I had seen many people that had, and they had this lifestyle. So I began to study money in college. I started my career at a bank, and I was on a team with the financial advisors, learned about stock market investing. I went through the tech bubble here in the United States, and I switched careers and co-owned a real estate brokerage, which was the top 10 in the country for many years. And I learned about real estate investing. And then I moved on to owning another company, an insurance company here in Florida, where we insured property, we insured businesses, and I sold that company this year. And then I launched Empower Her Money, which is now my mission about empowering other people to learn about finances, because I feel that maybe if my mother was more financially educated when I was a child, she would not have stayed in that abusive situation, and I wouldn't have had to endure the abuse. So I never want another woman or another person to feel like they're stuck in an unhealthy situation because they don't know about money. So it is my mission to help teach others about money.
That is a really interesting story and interesting background. I would like to know more. Why is money so important? You said, okay, it can help prevent abuse and similar situations. But why do you think that most people don't have enough information and enough experience with money and how to handle money?
Yeah, so to me, money is a tool, just like this computer, just like your car. A lot of people don't view it as a tool. And so they think it's very difficult to obtain money because they just don't know where to start. And many of that is taught to us at a very early age as a child. So for me, money is a tool, and money gives you freedom. It can give you freedom to live where you want. It can give you freedom to live a certain lifestyle if you want, to give charity. And so I want people to change their mindset around money and think of it more as a tool and not something that some people have or some people don't have. It's something everybody can have. They just have to put in the effort, just like any other tool, to be able to obtain it so that they can have freedom in their life.
When you're talking about money as a tool, is it important that we know how to handle the tool and that we understand the theory around it and the best practices? What's your take on money as a tool, and how do we get to be good using this tool?
Yeah, so we learned how to walk as a baby because we practice. We learned how to drive a car because we practice. This is no different. You learn how to use money and you practice it in the correct way. So some of the things that I like to teach is, one, credit cards are not the best tool to use. They can be used in some situations, but if you don't know how to use the tool, which means only use the credit for the amount that you can pay off every month. Otherwise, you start to get into debt, and that's a hard situation to get out of. So understanding what your income is, what are your expenses, and then staying within that budget, learning how to earn more money before you start spending more money. I think oftentimes we just spend money, especially with credit cards, because it's just a piece of plastic and we get a statement that doesn't require us to pay it all back, and then we start using it more and more. So understanding what is your income, what are your expenses, and keeping within that budget is just the first step for you to learn how to control, and you'll use that tool we call money.
what is the best way, where to go to learn how to control your expenses and not to go over budget and just spend as much as you have and even save some on the end of the month?
Yeah, there's so many free apps that you can use where you download the app and you connect it to your bank and you connect it to your credit card, and it provides you with a report. Just like if you had a business, you look at your own personal report to see what is my income, what are my expenses, and then you're visually seeing all of the things that you're spending money on. And oftentimes you're spending money on things that you're not even using anymore. So cutting those expenses out will help you have more money left over so that we are using it as a tool for investing. We are using it for our future instead of always feeling like we're far behind because we're spending too much money. So there's a lot of free tools out there. Rocket Money is a tool. Dave Ramsey has a tool called Every Dollar. Those are apps that you can download on the phone that you use every day. And then that way you're paying attention and looking at it every day or at least once a week so that you can see where is my money going, so that you can tell your money where to go instead of the money just leaving you.
How important is self-control when dealing with money?
Probably the number two. Number one for me is mindset, changing your mind around money. And number two is having control. Just like if you want to lose weight, you have to have control over what you eat. If you want to get into better shape, you have control over how much time you work out. Money is the same thing. You have to set aside time for it, to learn more about it, to control it, and then to learn how to invest it properly for your future.
Is it possible that some people are addicted to spending money and that they have basically addiction problem, not just money problem?
Yes, I do. And I was a victim of that too. I used to love to buy shoes. I still have a lot of shoes in my closet, but it's part of my budget. And for me, that came from a mindset of scarcity. So when I was a child and we didn't have money, it made me feel a certain way. So as an adult, I tried to replace that feeling with buying stuff, but that didn't help. I had to change my mindset around what is success, what is poverty, what is money, and change that mindset. Because when you do have an addiction, just like anything else, addiction to alcohol, addiction to drugs, you have to become first aware, and then you have to change your habit and change your mind around it. So yes, I definitely think that spending too much money, especially here in the United States, we like to have a lot of stuff. I think other countries, we could learn a lot from other countries that have, smaller homes. They don't have many fancy cars. And to understand that there are many people in this world who do not have running water or cars or a gas station down the street. So learning to be grateful for what you do have and understanding that is a huge difference for me.
But how do you go from entitlement to grateful, to being grateful?
Yeah. Surrounding yourself with people who teach you differently. So when you're around different people who think in a different mindset, there's the saying here that says you're a combination of your 5 closest friends. So if you want to change the way that you think or the way that you act about something, changing the environment that you're in, which means including changing the closest people that you mentor with, will help you think differently and act differently because you're watching them, you're paying attention, you're learning from them. So changing who you have around you could be a huge benefit for you if you're struggling with figuring out how to make changes in your life.
Would you say that having an accountability partner is really important when you start changing your habits that are connected with money and spending?
Yes, Peter, I love this question because, we watch TV, and if you think about the sports athletes, they have mentors, they have coaches. If you think about actors and actresses, they have mentors and they have coaches. Even the most successful business people in the world have mentors and coaches. So when you want to learn something new that maybe is not easy for you, then you want to seek out a professional or an expert to help you with that. Yes, there are lots of coaches. So one of the things I always say too is if you're going to seek out a mentor or a coach to help you learn something new, make sure that they're qualified. Ask the right questions. Ask them for their past clients so that you can go and make sure that what they're teaching you is accurate and that they did help someone else. And if you're looking for someone to help you with your finances or your money or investing, tell them, show me your balance sheet, show me what you invest in, show me how you've been successful in what you're teaching, because I wouldn't want someone to teach me something that they were not an expert in. So this is very important for you when you're seeking out that mentor, that coach, that they are qualified and truly experts in that field. And if they're afraid to show you their balance sheet or their investments, then that would be a red flag for me. I wouldn't want to work with someone who can't be transparent to show me proof that they are truly an expert and have done what they're teaching me.
Great advice. I would like to have your opinion on another topic that I really hold dear to me. When you get your finance in order, that you start saving, how important is to reward yourself? For example, you come to a certain milestone, 100,000 on your bank account. How important is to reward yourself for achieving this milestone?
It is important, but like you talked about earlier, if you're rewarding yourself with an addiction, if it's a spending habit addiction, then I wouldn't advise that, because then you're going to reverse that mindset on what you're working on. I think of it more of, if you have a hobby or something that makes you happy, then you make it a line item in your budget. So if you do like to, travel, then you have a line item in your budget that says, I'm going to spend $500 on traveling each month. So that's how you can reward yourself, but still stay on the right track with your money. I do think that we want to have fun in life. What's the point of controlling your finances if you're not doing good with it? So making sure that you have line items in your budget that go to each of those things, so that makes your life more fulfilling. If you want to donate money to charity, then it's a line item in your budget, but making sure that you stay within that budget helps you to stay on that good financial track. That way you're not getting off track and going backwards, because then if you reward yourself with something that's more than you can afford, then that mindset changes again and you start going backwards and having that negative thought around money instead of keeping it a positive thought around money.
Okay, in one of your publication, I saw that you are all pro paying off debt, but you excluded the mortgage. Would you say that it's good financial decision to have a mortgage and then invest? You said you used to invest in stock market and invest some in the stock market. Is that sound financial decision? What's your take on that?
If you would have asked me this question a year ago, my answer would have been different. Today, in our interest rate environment, it's important for you to look at, is my interest rate on my mortgage higher or lower than what I can get in the stock market? So a good financial advisor here in the United States can get maybe between 6 and 10% annually. So if my mortgage is higher than that, then no, it doesn't make sense for you. If your mortgage is lower than that, the interest rate that you're paying, then yes, you can have a better use for your money. But again, if you're not responsible enough and in control and have a good budget in place, then you really have to pay attention to that. Now, a mortgage on your home, say you bought it a couple of years ago and the interest rate is lower, it could be 3, 4, 5%, then that's good debt. If you can control and manage and it sits in your budget, that's good debt. But if you're taking out mortgages that are in the 7%, what we're seeing right now, then that might not be the best use of your money. You might be better off investing in the stock market, but it really depends on what the interest rate is looking like.
Okay, I'm far more conservative. I would first pay off all my debt if I had any, and then start investing only what I can lose. So I would never lose my home or possession that are dear to me. So my first financial advice to whomever I consult is always pay off all your debt, then start investing. However, this might be too conservative. I would also like to know your take, because you also specialized in helping women get financially independent. What is the difference between, let's assume that there are two sexes or two genders for this purpose. What is the difference between the male principle and the female principle in personal finance?
Yeah, there's a couple. I think that women we are more heart-centered. So when we think about investing, when we think about saving, we come from an emotional standpoint first, where the male counterpart is typically logical. He's thinking with his brain. So we see this a lot in statistical information. Women tend to charge less rent on a rental property. They're more lenient if someone has a hardship. They're more conservative because they have a little bit more fear and emotion versus just looking at the numbers. So when I teach about money, I typically will talk to women because they relate to me because of the way that I come from with my advice, which is the heart-centered first. You know, I think about charity more often, whereas some of the male counterparts might think about profit and business more often. I may give bigger raises to people, or women were also scared in the workforce to ask for raises. A man will come in and ask for a raise, and sometimes we'll say, you know, well, men make more than women. A lot of times that's because we just don't ask for it. So we don't ask for more money. And that's why that statistic is there, is because we're just more emotional and more afraid around it. So I think that's the big difference between men and women, is thinking with your heart versus thinking with your brain.
Okay. And you wrote a whole book about it. How do you, so what's the difference? Why there needs to be a specialized book for women? Is that just to remind them that they also need to use logic, or where is the advantage of reading your book that is specialized for women against a normal how-to book on money and finances?
Yeah, and it goes back to the emotional part. Like, one of my tips in the free book that you're referencing is to make a goal board. But I tell women, when they make a goal board, you know, you're making your goals 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 years from now, but not only to make that goal board, but to put pictures there and to think about, how am I going to feel when I reach that goal and accomplish that goal? You know, if you want to pay off your house, what does that feel like? If you want to take a vacation, what does that feel like? And so when you talk to a man and you talk to him about goals, they usually say, I think, I think, I think. Whereas a woman says, I feel, I feel, I feel. So when I'm writing a book to a woman, I tell her to feel about that goal, not think about it, but feel it. And so I think that's why the difference that I relate more to teaching women and how they relate back to me is because I'm going through that emotional part when we're talking about goals, and not the logical part.
Okay, that feels very Joe Dispenza to me, or or the secret when you have to feel it if you want to have it. Are there any exercises that you would recommend when doing goals? You said that it's important that they are visual, but also you have to feel them. Are there any specific exercise that you would recommend to our listeners? By the way, 55% of our listeners are female, so this topic is really hot for my audience.
Yeah, so when I say making the visual goal board, that's really important. Another thing that I do every day is I start off my day not on my phone. I don't look at social media. I don't look at my emails. The first thing I'm doing with my day is I have a journal, and I'm writing down what my 10 goals are right now, whether it's short-term, midterm, long-term. Anybody can find 10 minutes. When you start your day off intentionally, telling yourself, this is what I'm working on, short-term, midterm, long-term, I am telling my brain, this is what I want to accomplish. And what happens, and psychologically what has been proven, is when you look for something, your brain is seeking that information out every day. So we see this if you're going to go buy a car, or you're thinking about buying a house in a certain neighborhood, you start seeing signs around you that talk about that, because you have told your brain, this is what I want. So the brain automatically starts looking for that information. So that's why I think that writing in a journal or writing your goals every day when you start your day is really important, because then you start seeing those opportunities in front of you, and it gives you a chance to get to that goal quicker, because you're telling your brain that you want that information. And when you tell your brain and you feel it together, you're so much more likely to accomplish that goal, and quicker than you thought possible, because you're constantly looking for the information every day.
If I understand correctly, you preset your brains to recognize patterns that will help you come to your goal faster.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Thank you.
Okay. And you also mentioned a habit. Basically, you said a journaling. So how important is to develop healthy money habits in order to be successful, let's put it, money manager of your own money?
Yeah, very important. And even simple things, for example, I have a client who wanted to cut Starbucks out of their budget. They were spending, hundreds of dollars a month on Starbucks. So we talked about what is your habit around Starbucks. And what their habit was is they were going to work out in the morning and then going to get Starbucks right after it. So one recommendation was, can you change where you work out so it's not so close to a Starbucks, which is breaking that pattern for you? Or two, facing the car in a different direction. And it's so simple, it seems, but when you change the pattern in which you do, then you get out of that daily habit. So going to the gym and facing the car away from the direction of where the Starbucks was helping to break that pattern and that habit, so that they went from the gym to the car, and the car is facing towards their home instead of facing towards the Starbucks, which helped them break the habit. Now, it didn't work overnight. It took, a little couple weeks to break that pattern. But once they started breaking their pattern, their brain and their heart no longer craved that Starbucks, because they created a new pattern and habit for themselves. And that added a couple $100s to their budget, which they could pay off their credit card debt much quicker.
That's a nice trick. How important is to think about our money often? Because a lot of people just think about money like once a month, or when they have a problem not paying something. How important is that we plan and we think about it often?
Yeah, I don't want it to consume you, especially for people who grew up in a household, maybe they didn't have money, or maybe their parents talked negatively about money, because then if they think about it too much, then they start to have that negative feeling. Until they've really changed their mindset around money, I would prefer that they look at it once a week. Look at your app, look at your bank statements, or if you have credit cards, look at them once a week and just be aware, what am I spending money on? And does this serve me? Does this serve my goal? Is this getting me closer to what I want in life? Or is it taking me backwards? And once you become aware of something that is not serving you or sending you towards your goal, then that becomes easier to change that mindset or that habit. So it's important to pay attention to it, but I wouldn't want it to be too much, because then it's just bringing negativity back into your mindset. And then you don't move towards your goal, you start to move backwards.
Okay, you said mindset is the most important, and only then discipline. Is there any support group on Facebook or similar that people could follow and see? Because what I see with all my interviews all around the globe, a lot of people have similar problems, even if they're based in different locations. But the system is really similar all over the globe. And is there a support group? Where could we exchange our experience? A lot of people cannot talk about money at home, especially not without all this added negativity. How should people go about it when they start building awareness, let's say, and when they're aware that they have a problem, that is a huge step. And how should they go about it? How should they start solving the problem?
Yeah, so the first step is to get information, to gather the information. So before the support group, I would first look for a group that gives you information daily. So, on my Facebook page, I'm posting tips constantly. On Instagram, on Empower Her Money, I post tips every day. There's other people like Farnoosh, who I listen to her podcast, Dave Ramsey. There's a lot of people who post daily information. So I would start there and follow them. And then the more that you like the feed or you heart the feed, the more that it shows up in your own feed. So if you're looking to change your way of thinking about money, then you want to make sure that you're putting better information into your brain. So follow great people first, and then look for the support groups. And I think when you get that information into your mind, then it's much easier for you to talk to other people who are having the similar situation that you are, once you start putting more information into your brain that is serving you.
Okay, so getting in the group is not the first step. The first step is follow someone that knows what he or she is doing, and that is skilled at solving these problems, or you need to get a money coach.
Yes. So again, it goes back to the mindset first, and then the action or the discipline.
Okay. What is the most common problem that people face when they're coming to you?
They haven't looked at their credit card statement. They're scared to, because they know that they're spending money, but they don't know where they're spending money. Where's the money going? They just know they're getting further in debt, and they don't understand how to change it or where to start. So they feel overwhelmed, like it's some huge problem that they can't seem to fix. But really, we just start with the credit card statement. We start with the bank statements, and we say, where's your money going? You need to understand where it's going so that we can understand how to fix the problem.
Okay. Is there any situation that is not possible to fix? And how should our listeners know if they are in a completely desperate place? And what should they do about it?
Yeah, I think the bigger situations, like a loss of a family member who was contributing income, or if they get an illness and so they cannot work and then they have doctor bills, those are some really big problems. Not that they can't be solved, but it's just going to take a lot longer. So that's kind of, individual situations, but know that there's still a way to get out. It's just understanding that the process might take longer for you, and that maybe, bankruptcy or filing for help with the IRS or with credit card companies, reaching out and asking them to give you payment plans, it's going to be a much longer process, but it still is possible.
Thank you. You gave us all these really nice insights. Is there any other trick of the trade or secret that you can disclose to our listeners before we finish?
So the first, I wrote the book, Empower Your Money, this year. And my first tip in the book is to invest in yourself. So find out what it is that you enjoy doing, especially if you're looking to create more income, and see if you can create a side business or a hobby that pays you. I will teach people, what do you like to do in life? Is it a hobby right now that costs you money, or is it something we can turn into profit for you? What do your friends or family members come to you and ask you questions about? Are you handy, or do you know how to make crafts or bake cookies? And let's see if we can increase your income by doing something you enjoy. That way it doesn't seem like you're taking away from yourself. You're not taking away time, but maybe you're just taking your time and putting it in a different direction that helps create some fun for you, but also some additional income. So I don't want you to think that you have to always work hard at something you don't enjoy to get income. Let's figure out something fun in your life that we can add value to you, add value to people around you, and help other people, but also create some income for you so that you can reach your goals for yourself as well.
Thank you for this wonderful insight. Please share with us where people can reach out and get in touch, or where they can order your book.
Yeah, so my book, Empower Your Money, is on Amazon, so it is available there. And then to get in touch with me, Empower Her Money on Instagram or TikTok. And then I also have a podcast called Empower Your Money, which all I do is talk about money and business. So if you want to learn more about money and we just focus on that, then definitely tune into the podcast. It's a free, podcast that you can get in touch with. So know that investing in yourself doesn't always have to cost money.
Thank you. I'll put all the links in the description below so that our listeners can reach you. And thank you again, Angela, for being my guest tonight.
Thank you, Peter.